I really feel the difference between some of the content that I'm putting out and what I see other people putting out. It's the fact that I smile in a picture. You just don't. I felt like I wanted to challenge this status quo, I guess you could call it, that to be perceived as kind of attractive or desirable or, inspiring for, someone to keep fit or, whatever the reason may be, that you have to look kind of a bit moody or unavailable or a bit miserable. And I just thought, actually, I want my whole vibe here because this is taking off. And I'm being approached by, companies. Can we send you some items? Can you produce some pictures for us? And that felt wonderful. But I wanted my approach for it to be kind of a bit boy next door. I want people to feel good when they see my pictures. I don't want them to feel like that they're not good enough.
Hi everyone, and welcome again to Below the Skin of Dave Rich, a digital creator focusing on underwear, swimwear, and sportswear. And my favorite bit, spreading smiles and positive vibes. I like that. Let's just cover the basics. So, where are you from? Where do you live?
Cool. So thank you very much for having me on your show, Pierre. It's a privilege and an honour to be asked. So I am talking to you today from Nottingham in the UK. I'm just really thrilled to be here. So thank you very much for having me along.
Well, you're welcome. My pleasure. I started Unapologaytic to deal with my own gay shame. And so the shame of growing up gay, really. So have you experienced that?
Oh, God, going in straight with the deep questions. So yeah, like the short answer is yes. So I turned 40 last summer, so the summer of 2022. And I guess the reason that I'm saying my age is because I want kind of the listeners to kind of understand that the place that I come from or the generation that I'm from, I think kind of grew up in a certain time in society, went to school at a certain time and have seen kind of progress happen in certain places around queer culture in their lifetimes. And I think for me and, for your listeners today, we're talking like pretty much smack bang in the middle of LGBT History Month in the UK. So it's February. And I know that LGBT History Month was created in the UK to mark the anniversary the abolition of something called Section 28, which was a piece of government legislation which started in the middle of the 80s and wasn't fully repealed until 2003, if my dates are right there. And during that period was the time that I went to school. Section 28 was all about educational establishments not being allowed to promote homosexuality. And the fallout from that, as well as the fact that I grew up in a small town in the county of Shropshire in England, where there was very little in the way of kind of diversity of all kinds. I didn't know anyone that was gay. You didn't see anyone that was gay/queer in the media, on TV, or if they were perceived in a certain kind of way. And when I was particularly at school, this legislation, alongside the fact that, I had a bit of a tough time at school, kind of meant that, during those kind of really informative years when you're, exploring yourself, exploring your sexuality, hormones and emotions start to ooze out of you in abundance. I spent those really informative years, pretty frightened and pretty lonely because, in my heart of hearts, I knew I was gay. Yet all around me, there was this rhetoric, this dialogue, this narrative that said being gay is a bad thing. Being gay is not a life choice or a lifestyle that is going to set you up for success. So that for me is kind of an important part of my story, because of that time in society, that time in LGBT history. And it was the foundational stuff that informed my development, my progression, and my journey into being a young man and into adulthood, and some of the stuff that happened during that time. So the questioning, the denial, the bullying weighed heavily on me. And that is like the gay shame, the baggage, the gay shame baggage that I guess I carry. And it took me, well, in many ways I'm still working through it, but in many ways it was really, I would say, like my mid to late 20s that I really started to, I guess, lean into it and face it head on, and refuse to let it kind of pigeonhole me or define me in any kind of way. And I would say, going back to your question, yes, I've had gay shame. Do I still have gay shame? Yes, I think it'll always be part of who I am. But I use it as I take strength from the journey that I've been on, and the ways that I've battled it. And like I said, I've lent into those issues. I've turned it into a strength. I don't let it define me or be a weakness in any way anymore.
When you say you decided to take it head on, then how did you do that?
I think it was a variety of things that was just kind of going on in my life at the time. So I came out when I was 17, 18, and I was studying in the college in my hometown, and I met a couple of gay people, developed a group of friends. They were really, it was really great fun. Had a really great time. I had a bit too much of a good time, actually. I probably would have ended up going to university if I'd not come out and met this group of friends, but instead I focused more on having a great time rather than studying well for my A-levels. And when exams, and particularly exam results came along, I was like, okay, I need to figure out a different path for myself. And I didn't end up going to university as a result of it. And instead of going to university, I started work. And I guess I got distracted by some work-related stuff, just trying to figure out a path for myself, I guess, professionally, in my late teens and early 20s. So I didn't really think about kind of my queerness, and I had a couple of relationships around the time which weren't suitable and ideal for me. And it was when I ended up moving from Shrewsbury to Nottingham in, I think it was about 2004, 2005 when I moved. And to me, it was like moving to the big city. It was the big city lights. Anyone that knows Nottingham will know that it's actually just a really big town. But to me, it was the buses ran on a Sunday, and that was a big deal. So I moved to Nottingham and kind of left this life back in Shrewsbury, in this kind of very rural town behind me. I moved here for love. I was with a guy at the time, and things didn't work out there. But I'd moved to this new place. I didn't want to go home with my tail in between my legs, and so decided to give life in Nottingham my best shot. Made some friends. I made one friend in particular who really kind of opened my eyes and challenged me to see myself in a different kind of light. And so I think some of the the support, encouragement and challenge that he gave me, you know, really helped me kind of drop a lot of the things that, well, were holding me down. And they were things such as feeling like I had limitations with, you know, how far I would go professionally, or, you know, kind of who I was as a person, some of my characteristics. And I think meeting him, feeling like I'd found some level of independence and feeling like I'd left this life behind, like in Shrewsbury. And, you know, I don't want to paint a bad picture of Shrewsbury. It was a lovely place to grow up, and it's a beautiful little town. But, you know, because of some of the stuff that had happened there, leaving that behind and feeling like I'd shut the door on that chapter in my life was a real turning point.
Yeah, I've had something very similar, because I grew up in the Caribbean. And although I'm from the French Caribbean, so it's nowhere near as violent as, you know, what we hear in the other islands. So I was not even bullied. I was more teased. But that's bad enough, really, to experience shame, especially when we're so young. And the other thing I find is that I couldn't even tell my parents. I couldn't even tell anybody, because being gay was condemned anyway. So that was, it takes some work to overcome that.
Absolutely, yeah. When you've got family, society, but there's also, I mean, for you, needing to deal with, you know, the fact that being queer, being homosexual was illegal. You know, I can't even imagine.
Actually, for me, it was legal, because because in the Caribbean, there were French laws,
right?
So, or even back then already, there were European laws.
Right.
So it wasn't illegal, but illegal or not, I was still teased.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Apologies, I misunderstood you then, but
no, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think as queer people, we can be really quick to dismissive of our lived experiences. I know you being like, all I was teased, you know, that's still a really shitty experience to have to have lived through. Yeah. And whether the teasing, the bullying, however you want to badge it, is however it's kind of conveyed, and sometimes it can be really overt and sometimes it can be really subliminal. And I think sometimes some of the most kind of dangerous kind of discrimination and prejudice that any marginalised group can experience is the stuff that is not very obvious, and the stuff that's actually kind of going on behind closed doors or inside someone's mind. Like, you know, I do a lot of work with within kind of my day job around LGBT inclusion, kind of in workplaces, and we talk a lot about unconscious bias and stuff like that in those spaces. And, you know, what we know about unconscious bias is that, you know, as a queer person, you'll never quite know which job you never got because you presented yourself as queer in an interview. You'll never know what promotion you got overlooked for your heterosexual counterpart. So, I think we can be dismissive, and it's important just like face into the fact, like, you know, I got treated differently because I'm queer, and that's shit.
Yeah, of course. And I feel like the system is organized that way, really. So on the surface, we look like we are given equal opportunities. On the record, you know, we went through the interview process and everything, but we still didn't get the job.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult to improve. Sorry, if anyone can hear a noise, it's because my cat has just walked into the room, and she's very chatty, and she's down here like on the floor, meowing away, and I think she wants to jump on my lap. Are you coming up?
we'll ask her some
She's just
questions.
going to rub around my leg. So if anyone can hear that, that's what that noise is, by the way. Absolutely, yeah. She just doesn't like the fact that I'm getting some attention. Are you coming up? You coming? No. Carry on.
So
Pierre,
what
sorry.
about the job you're doing right now in terms of inclusion?
Yeah.
Is that sort of linked to the gay shame you've experienced?
I think, yeah, absolutely is. So I work for a financial services company, and my job is largely around kind of driving what I call kind of responsible business activity. So it's my role in the organisation to manage links with charities, community organisations, to run our volunteering programme, and to do kind of fundraising, that type of stuff. But I'm passionate about other areas of kind of responsible business practice, and diversity and inclusion is absolutely one of them. I don't lead on it myself for the organisation, someone else does that. But part of it was because of some of the work that I did before they joined. So I think about 4 years ago, I was part of a small group of people that helped to set up the LGBT kind of staff network that we have within our organisation. And kind of through that network, we've done all sorts of work with kind of driving a conversation, raising awareness about some of the lived experiences of what it's like, just more broadly, to be LGBTQ plus, but also to kind of help bring to life what some of the kind of inclusion issues are in a workplace. And, we know that, a lot of people can often go back into the closet when they go into a corporate environment. So we've really tried to drive a message around kind of being your full self in the workplace, and this is a safe space to be able to do that. But, there's also been a whole bunch of work that's happened around kind of policy and procedure, kind of making sure that, if things, don't go well, or if someone is going through a certain life event, such as transitioning, for example, that there's lots of support and kind of guidance for both those individuals, but also maybe kind of teams and managers who they'll be working with to make sure that it's as. And we've received some recognition for that as well. So I'm really, really proud of the work that's happened in that space. And we've done kind of linking back to my work. We've done work with local charities. We're a big supporter of our local Pride event as well. So I'm super, super proud of everything that we've done in that space.
Well done.
Yeah. As you can see, my cat has now joined us. So this is Mika.
Yeah. Hello, Mika. In the last 4 years that you've been included in the diversity and inclusion team, how much change have you noticed?
I've noticed,
if any.
I've noticed a huge amount. Partly because prior to us kind of setting up the staff network and driving some of the events, kind of campaigns, particularly the internal stuff, there was no kind of really acknowledgement or conversation around some of these topics before. And, whilst it's difficult to point your finger at any kind of like operational or systemic change within our organisation, the changes that I take the biggest kind of reward and get the biggest buzz from it's when individuals have approached me or kind of the wider kind of network of people that have been brought together through this work and have said, like, alongside some other stuff, this bit of work has given me the courage to come out, or has given me the courage to accept that I am who I am, and kind of lean into being more of their authentic self within the workplace. And they're the changes, even though there's only a handful of instances, it's all been worth it to help that person to be their true self.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how does that combine, or how does it link with your work as a digital creator?
Yeah, so there are actually things that I keep pretty separate, partly because I work in a really corporate environment, and part of the nature of that is that there are kind of certain policies and rules that that I need to abide by in terms of linking my professional life with this world that I found myself in over the last few years of being a social media influencer, as they're sometimes called. But yeah, I much prefer the term kind of digital creator or content creator. I think, you know, the stuff that I've done through my work, through like my professional work, or my proper work, as I sometimes call it, and then the stuff that has happened through Instagram, whilst they're different, they're all kind of underpinned by this quality, or this characteristic, shall I say, that I have around kind of being authentic and trying to put out a positive message into the world and trying to make the world a better place. And, you know, there's some people that I'm sure might hear that and look at my Instagram, see the type of content that I create, and be like, well, it's pretty one-dimensional. You're just standing there in a pair of Speedos or some underwear or some sportswear, showing your body. You know, how is that putting out a positive message in the world? But it links back to this, you know, that bit in from my bio that you read out before, you know, spreading positive vibes and spreading smiles. I quickly, kind of as things started to take off, and it was kind of early 2020 when things kind of started to happen with Instagram, which is my main social media channel. You know, in 2020, we went into lockdown. There was a lot more time on our hands to be online, scrolling. For me, I was kind of just starting to dabble with different bits of content or pictures of myself that kind of felt, I guess I felt, because some stuff, well, because it was happening behind closed doors, I lost a little bit of, I guess, like a perception of reality of, like, I think if I'd like been posting some of the pictures that I post when the world used to be how it is or how it is now, I might have thought twice, and I do sometimes these days, because it kind of feels a bit too, I don't know what the right word is, but too present, too in the moment. But I guess, like a lot of people around that time, I was yearning for connection with other people. I'm a very extroverted person, so I draw my energy from being with people, and Instagram became a really great platform for me to do that. And so kind of as things started to grow in that space, and I realized the space of social media in which I was operating was very dominated by kind of, I guess, gay men, particularly, who would be there in their underwear, their swimwear, or, you know, showing their bodies, that I kind of felt were giving off a not necessarily fully authentic, or even sometimes a very positive one. And I thought, you know, it's so small, but I really feel the difference between some of the content that I'm putting out and what I see other people putting out. It's the fact that I smile in a picture. You just don't. I felt like I wanted to challenge this status quo, I guess you could call it, that to be perceived as kind of attractive or desirable, or, you know, inspiring for, you know, someone to keep fit, or, you know, whatever the reason may be, that you have to look kind of a bit moody or unavailable or a bit miserable. And I just thought, actually, I want my whole vibe here, because this is taking off and I'm being approached by, you know, companies. Can we send you some items? Can you produce some pictures for us? And that felt wonderful. But I wanted my approach for it to be kind of a bit boy next door, a bit. I want people to feel good when they see my pictures. I don't want them to feel like that they're not good enough, that I'm untouchable or like unapproachable, because I just don't think it's a very good. I don't think it's a very good message to send off, and it's not who I am as a person. So I wanted to channel that and just try and do something slightly different rather than being completely one-dimensional.
I completely agree, because as a photographer, as a brand owner, I really like having good-looking people, but who are approachable. And I don't like the idea of, this one is like a god. There's no way you can even achieve either his body, or, you can't even talk to him because he's just too handsome. Or I like I like showing people who are good-looking, healthy, and that sort of, like you, that's the vibe I want for everything I do. By what you've said, it sounds like it happened sort of organically. Am I right?
Yeah, it did. And, there's not kind of a single thing I can point to that is where I could say, like, this is the turning point. This is where kind of things really took off. It's not like I had one post that went viral. I think it was a combination of that going into a period where we were shut inside our houses. We had more time on our hands to be on social media. We were yearning that connection, and around that time was just when I decided to kind of post more of kind of this type of content that I've become known for. Around the time there were more brands, particularly gay brands, popping up that wanted to work with content creators like me. So I was being sent the underwear, the swimwear, the gay fashion, that type of stuff, and I love being sent stuff because I really enjoy getting creative with an item rather than just being stood in front of a camera or in a particular spot. As in, I'm going to take a picture, and you can take a lovely picture in lots of lovely places. But actually having an item to be like, this is what I'm here kind of promoting, and I'm doing that in a meaningful, because I enjoy this item and I hope you do too. I guess as more brands sent me stuff and I would get features on their accounts, there's also kind of these shout out accounts on Instagram that would use my pictures. Sometimes I would send them pictures, sometimes they would just lift pictures from my account, or they would ask me in my DMs, can you send us some pictures? And I guess I was just kind of gradually getting more and more exposure. I did do a couple of collaborations with quite high profile brands within kind of the gay men kind of market space. And I also think I got a bit lucky with Instagram's algorithm at a time when content like mine was being pushed to certain audiences. And, I look at some of the insights from some posts that I've had, and like I said, there's not been a single one. There's just been like a series of them where you'll look at the post, it may have like a certain amount of like likes and comments on it, but that post has been shown to like over 100,000 people, sometimes like 500,000 people, and that's like mind-boggling. But the followers just kind of have come in. It's not like in 1 week or overnight I suddenly amassed thousands of followers. It's happened where it's been like 100 followers every day, but it's been like every day for like 6-7 weeks. And there'll be periods where it'll plateau off, and there's been periods where I've lost followers, but it has just happened really, really organically. And I think because of that, I've kind of just gone along with the ride and been like, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna keep on kind of doing what I'm doing because people seem to be enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it as well. That's
the main thing, isn't it? that you enjoy it. Because that's the thing I find that shows in your posts, is that you're having a good time. It doesn't. I don't think I've ever seen a post where it felt forced, or it felt like, oh yeah, well, I'm just posting something. Because
I would never post anything just because I kind of felt like I'd got to, or because I was, exactly. And, you know, I am fortunate that I've had a few brands kind of pay me to create content, and, you know, I'll be transparent about that. You know, Instagram will have the kind of paid partnership label on it, and actually Instagram are very good at detecting if you look like you are doing something in return for income. So I'm really transparent about that. But I would never make content with something that I didn't love myself. So I'm just there having a good time, being creative, helping many of the brands that I work with. I would say more than 80% of the ones that I work with are queer owned themselves, and that's something that's really important to me. So yeah, I'm just having a good time, and like I said, hoping that it's making people feel good, it's making them smile. It's and
does having so many followers, so you've got over 100,000 followers on Instagram only, so how does that affect your life?
I think the way that it affects my life, so I try and stay really humble, and I'm particularly grounded with it. I don't think I'm like any kind of big deal or hot shot, or I don't know, however you want to badge it. I kind of just get on with my day-to-day business. I feel extremely lucky and grateful. I sometimes have like pinch me moments where I'm like, oh my God, like I remember a few years ago looking at accounts like mine, or people that had over 100,000 followers, and be like, how did they do it? That would be really cool. Never for a second thought or felt determined I'm going to do that. It's just kind of happened, as I just explained. But I think like how it does affect my life is that I'm really cautious, and I'm really considerate about what kind of message I'm putting out. I take personal responsibility for whether it's the message in terms of the written words that I'm putting onto like an Instagram caption, or it's about what the message, what the picture is saying, how it portrays me. I think about that a lot, probably a bit too much actually. I've held back from doing posts before, thinking people are going to think that I'm one-dimensional. They're going to think I'm an idiot. They're going to think I'm arrogant or up myself. All of those things, and I'm none of those things. And
they only say that.
You know, there probably are people that think that. I think about personal responsibility. It's about it affects my life. It affects the way that I kind of carry myself, because I appreciate I now have a platform, and you know, you think of the term influencer, and it's because your behaviors, your words, your actions influence people, and I want to influence people in a positive way. And I think about that really seriously, and I don't take it for granted. The other ways that sometimes it affects my life is that in very, very bizarre places, I will sometimes get people approach me in the street and say, I follow you on Instagram, and I absolutely love it. But at the same time, it's a real like eye-opening kind of moment where I'm like, whoa, there are like 100,000 people that follow me on Instagram, and there's probably more people than that who kind of know who I am because they see my pictures in other ways or in other places.
How do you deal with the times when you lost followers?
So there have been times where I've been like, oh, maybe I've come to the end of the road, or maybe people aren't interested in me, or maybe people aren't liking my pictures anymore. It's some of it's a mystery. Some of it just kind of is what it is. The world of social media is pretty fickle, and it can sometimes just be the algorithm that when I, again, looking at the insights from when I post a picture and what's happening with kind of my followers, or like my engagement as they call it, I know that if I post a picture, I will sometimes within 2 to 3 hours, I'll lose about 50 followers, because probably people look at the pictures and they're probably eye rolling like, oh, another picture of this guy in his speedos, I'm going to unfollow him. I've seen other accounts, followed other accounts where I'm like, this person or this account's not doing it for me anymore. So I am a staunch believer that if you are not taking something positive or something meaningful from a social media account, if you feel, or particularly if it's affecting you in a negative way, like disengage from it, unfollow it, block it, do whatever you need to do. That's really, really important. And my apologies go out to anyone who's ever felt that way about anything that I put out. It's never ever been intentional, but at the end of the day, that does happen. But yeah, I think there's been some periods where I think my content, my account just hasn't featured as highly as it has done at other times in Instagram's kind of searches, and therefore the number of people who would ordinarily unfollow me every day has just been higher than those who have found my account and thought, oh, I'm going to follow that person. So that is what it is. It's never been a mass exodus. It's been
quite a time.
It's been over the course of a few weeks, I may have lost 500 followers. I think there was once over a year ago where I lost about 1,000 followers in the space of a month, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But it soon bounced back. So I know it goes around in a cycle. It's just part of, you can't be the account or the digital creator that's always there in people's face, and so I'm cool about it. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't please everybody. And the other thing, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of for the business, then at the beginning, a few years ago, so I've been running the brand for like maybe 6 years. This year will be 6 years. And the days when there were no sales, or even weeks sometimes, I would feel terrible. I would feel so rejected and really, really fearful. But luckily now, I'm doing some therapy right now, and that's really helping to sort of detach from the performance of the business. So now I'm learning really to sort of gain my sense of worthiness outside of the business.
And I think you touch on a couple of things there, that whether it's business related or, in my case, it could be to do with my social media, but it can appear in lots of areas of queer people's lives, is that we can be quite triggered by that feeling of rejection, and you can spiral really, really quickly when you feel like your worthiness, your self-worth, your value in life or society is being kind of questioned or compromised. And I know that I've said this to you separately when you've sent me through some of the I know that you've done kind of podcasts and talks around your journey, the therapy that you're receiving, and I think it's amazing that you're being that open and honest. And I remember saying to you, I'm sorry to hear about some of those feelings, some of the experiences that are happening.
Yeah. Oh, you can talk about it. It's fine. You don't need to.
I don't feel like I'm tiptoeing
anyway,
around it. I definitely just want to be respectful, and I'm just trying to articulate my admiration that you have acknowledged that there's a problem with how I react to certain situations, or some of the stuff being with me because of past lived experiences. And I've had some discussions for some personal reasons over the last kind of 6 to 12 months with some people that are very special in my life around going to therapy, because I think it's something that I'm kind of on the brink of doing, because there is some reactions and ways that I respond to certain situations where I think, do you know what, I need to figure out why I'm behaving in that type of way, and just waiting for certain feelings or thoughts to pass is not going to wash. And I need to sit with a professional to actually kind of ask me some questions and tell me why certain things are the way that they are.
Well, that's why I accepted actually to do that YouTube therapy thing. That was really to show that it's only a chat. That's all it is, really.
Yeah.
So, and it's life-changing.
Yeah. And it's not often that people who have not had therapy before get to see or hear what happens in a therapy setting, because it's, you know, rightly so, it's all very confidential and private. So actually, for people who might be considering therapy or don't know what therapy is about, actually being able to kind of observe and listen to someone having it and speaking honestly and openly, I guess it demystifies it, and hopefully it could lead to other people getting the support that they need.
Yeah, I hope so. How do you handle the attention that you're getting on social media?
So I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So I'm not going to lie, I do enjoy it, but there is a guardedness that I have. I've had a couple of instances where some things have happened where, a picture I have put out has received a nasty comment, or I have received mean comments, like in my direct messages, my DMs as they call them. I had one incident coming up to a couple of years ago now where another content creator used one of my pictures to make I don't know if you'd call it a meme, but it was just a piece of content that mocked what I had put out. And I'd included a caption, which in hindsight on this picture that I realised could have been triggering or could have just landed not in the way that I'd intended it to. When I was trying to put out a positive message about body image, but it got twisted by this certain individual, and it really, really upset me. I had like a terrible few days of just feeling like horribly anxious about but also like just horribly misjudged by what had happened. And I tried to connect with this individual to be like, hey, look, I think you've been a bit unfair here. They were pretty awful in their response to me. And I took a lot of lessons from that incident. And I think it's always made me think twice about what I say, what picture I put out, what messages I'm actually putting out, because I want to stay really committed to that whole vibe of being a positive role model around making people feel good. I would just never want people to feel bad because of kind of what I'm saying or what I'm doing or what images I'm posting. So yeah, the crux is 95, I would say probably even 99% of the whole like Instagram life that I have. I absolutely love it. But there's this 1, sometimes maybe 2, 3, 4, 5%, where I'm like, yeah, this feels a bit scary, because there's no support for people that suddenly get this quite public profile. Like, Instagram itself doesn't like send you a message saying, congratulations, you've reached this many followers, here's some stuff for you to think about in terms of how to manage being trolled or negative comments.
Well, they don't care about that.
No, they don't. I don't actually think they do. They have their kind of support functions where you can report posts, you can report hate speech and all of that type of stuff. But I think there's an opportunity for Instagram. It's for all social media to actually, they exist and they have a license to operate because of people creating content. And whether you've got 100 followers or 100,000 followers, then I think there needs to be more support in place for people that that are in a position where suddenly they're receiving, or they could receive,
something really hurtful.
But yeah, on the whole, it's wonderful. These platforms are there for us to connect, collaborate, celebrate who we are as individuals. They're a great way to express yourself, be creative, and that's what I love about it. And I have, over the last couple of years, through Instagram, been able to connect with loads of brilliant organizations, people like yourself. I've made some really good friends through it as well, and I've had some absolutely amazing opportunities come my way as well. Like, I've been able to stay in hotels for free in return for promoting them, making content for them. I've had photo shoots. I've been sent an abundance of underwear and swimwear, which I'm now like, what do I do with all of this?
More than you can wear
exactly,
in a lifetime.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just, even if it all ended tomorrow, I'd be upset, but I would, moreover be just extremely grateful that I'd got the opportunity to do something that a lot of people strive to do. A lot of people get very frustrated that it's not working for them. So it's all underpinned by gratitude.
Has that impacted your mental health?
Yeah.
Or how you relate to yourself, your body, your psychology, all of that?
Oh yeah. So it's all intertwined, isn't it? Your physical and your mental health. And a lot of the content that I put out requires me to look a certain way. I'm a big believer in body positivity, and all bodies of all shapes and sizes are beautiful. You do not need to look a certain way. You do not need to look like me to be perceived as beautiful. So I want to put that out. But I like to look a certain way. My physical health and my mental health, like I just said, are definitely intertwined. The success I've seen on Instagram does push me to go to the gym, like probably more than I would do if I didn't have it. I tend to work out in the mornings. There was plenty of mornings where I wanted to turn off my alarm and roll over and go back to sleep, but I haven't done, because I'm like, well, if I don't go to the gym this morning, I've not got a chance for another 3 days, and that can just spiral into a not being in a healthy routine. So there's that side of it, the mental health side of it. So I get an enormous boost to my mental health because of the amount of physical, being active, releasing endorphins into your system is great for happy feelings, but at the same time, harking back to some of the stuff that I've said before, that some of the content that I put on Instagram, I'll overthink it, or I'll publish a post and I'll feel quite anxious about it, or there's this level of feeling always switched on to it. Like, sometimes when I've been traveling, and I've really worked on this, but there have been periods when I've been traveling where sometimes I felt like I've been constantly thinking, like, where's going to be a good place to take a picture, or where I've not posted anything today, like, what pictures can I use? And so rather than being in the moment, I've been kind of more consumed with capturing it, and I've really taken a step back from that now. And whilst I love taking pictures, I do love thinking like, this is a great spot for to create a bit of content, but I sometimes just do it and then I'll be like, I'll deal with it later, rather than feel like I need to post it, which I have done before. So yeah, they're kind of some of the examples where kind of mental health has been impacted. But I would say just more broadly, because of some of the lived experiences I had as a younger person and a younger adult, some like hereditary stuff so as I learn more about my parents, I know that both of them have dealt with mental health issues, and I think some of that's been passed down to me, to other members of my family, and yeah, I'm someone that leans into the fact that I do everything that I can to take care of my mental health, but I have good times with it and I have not so good times with it, but I am functioning most of the time with it, and I know what my triggers are, and I know what I need to do if I'm going through a bad patch, and I need to take some time for myself. And sometimes, and I have done this before, is I'll check out of the Instagram stuff for sometimes a week. I think just over a year ago, I went for a whole month where I didn't post anything at all. And I had a few people reach out being like, is everything okay? We've not seen anything from you. And that was really sweet. And yeah, and it's nice that people notice when you haven't been around. But I've put a message out there just being like, I'm on a bit of a social media break. Highly encourage it. It feels great.
Well, I'm interested in creating a community, and people really talk and ask me questions, and that's what I want also to carry on with this podcast, really. So that's the bright side, I think, of social media, when people from I haven't met physically exchange messages, and there's a way to connect to people that don't live in my neighborhood. Let's finish with a few light-hearted questions. So what's your gay anthem?
Oh, my gay anthem, I think, would be Lola's Theme by the Shapeshifters.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I love quite high energy dance music, so I work out a lot to it. But that song, I think it's like it is an absolute anthem. I think it's timeless, and if ever I hear it, it just makes me feel great. And there's been some kind of periods in my life where I've listened to it, and it's kind of helped me with some stuff. I take a lot of therapy from music, so that's my gay anthem.
What queer program would you recommend me, or queer show would you recommend?
So I think I have watched the series Pose. So I think there's 3 seasons of it, and I think I've watched them all at least 2 or 3 times. So I think they're fabulous. They balance light-hearted fun with taking a period of time within New York, within a certain community, and kind of really painting a picture of what life was like there. And I think, harking back to LGBT history, whilst it was in America, there was stuff that was happening then around the trans community, the queer community, the rise of the HIV and AIDS crisis, that you learn a lot from watching that series, from watching those series. So I love Pose.
Yeah, me too. That's one of my all-time favorites, really.
Yeah, and if you're into something like Drag Race, I think you can watch Pose, or there's a documentary called Paris is Burning, which is all about the ballroom scene, you'll understand why certain things happen in Drag Race. Certain phrases, or absolutely. Yeah, talking about houses, or Motheroo, that type of stuff. Yeah.
And the thing I love about Pose is the way I see it anyway is the American dream seen by people who know the American dream is not for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just all they want is to be real. Yeah. They just want to be, they don't want to be seen as someone that's trans. Yeah. They just want to be accepted as someone that is who they are.
Yeah, that's very true. And what kind of reactions do you get when you wear unapologetic t-shirts?
Only positive ones. So really great ones, actually. So I've very often worn one of your t-shirts to, like, maybe if I go to a Pride event, or if I go out to like an LGBT venue, whether that's here in Nottingham, or I enjoy coming down to London and going out there. And people will come up and be like, "Oh, I really love your t-shirt. Where's it from?" And I'll tell them, and I'll say, "Oh, check my Instagram. I've got a discount code on there."
Oh, that's sweet.
So it's always really positive. And I remember at Nottingham Pride last summer, there were two guys who were a couple that I know, and they were both wearing one of your t-shirts, and I was like, "Oh, you're wearing Unapologetic," and I think I was wearing your the black vest with the spaceman on the front of it. I was wearing that as well, so we kind of had a bit of a moment that was all over Unapologetic, which you never knew about until now.
Exactly. Well, I saw. Well, I don't know if it's the same, but I saw a couple also wearing my t-shirts, and I was really humble. I'm always humble when people tag the brand. That's amazing, really. How would you help your younger self to deal with gay shame?
I think I kind of alluded to this before, but if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, I'd want to say something to them along the lines of, all the things that you feel are weaknesses right now are going to become your greatest strength, and you're going to see success in lots of areas of your life around the things that right now you feel deeply ashamed about, or you feel that you'd want to change. Go with the journey, embrace who you are, and enjoy the ride, because some really, really exciting and awesome stuff is coming your way, and stuff that you'll never expect or you could have ever dreamt of. It's all about helping, particularly I think teenage Dave, understand that all the things that they're worried about at the moment are going to become exciting opportunities for them.
Yeah. Well, embrace who you are. That's the tagline for Unapologetic.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was a complete happy accident.
So, where can people find you?
So, people can find me on Instagram. The handle is @DaveRich_UK. On my Instagram profile, you will also find my link tree, which links through to some of the social media platforms I have a presence on, but also some of the companies that I am working with at the moment, who I am digging, and kind of associated discount codes and all that type of stuff.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Pierre. I've really enjoyed it. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.